So I don't want to jump the gun here, but are we ready to watch some film?
Yes, we
Because
are. I mean,
okay,
Vince, it's
great.
never jumping the gun to watch film. Okay, so I mean, that's just that's just the way that it is.
I,
All right, let's get this going. Let's rock and roll some Styles Prescott film, Vince.
Beautiful. So this is his junior season. Obviously, he's still got his senior season to play as a 24 kid.
So I think the first thing that I like about this kid is despite being listed at 270, he's a pretty physical, tough kid.
Yes.
You can when you see him in person, you can tell he's not a guy that's like say like a guy that's spent 3 years in the weight. He's not Braxton Cave, right? Remember how Braxton was kind of maxed out weight room wise when he got out of he was
Oh
a
yeah.
Penn guy, right? Because his dad was a weightlifter.
His dad was a
and all that kind of stuff.
weightlifter. I
Right?
mean, he had a gym in the
Right.
garage, and
Right. So he's going to need a lot of work there, but he's got a really nice natural pop, nice natural power.
Agreed.
I think he's another kid too that at times looks like a waist bender, but then there's clips like these two in a row where you can see he's got some flexibility in the knees and ankles, which is important. And so I think his waist bending issues that you see are more technical than they are like look right there. This isn't like great technique as a pass set, right? But it's fine. It's solid. Guy's running right at him, so he's not needed a lot. But look at the base. You look at the ankles. He's got some nice bend in the ankles, nice bend at the knees. Just needs to learn to use his hand stuff. But he's got some pop. He's got some punch, and he's got length. I mean,
Yeah,
I see all the natural tools are there, Vince, and,
Sure.
and that's what you see on film is there's a lot of natural ability there. But for a 270-pound kid, I expected him to be athletic when I first heard about him. But I didn't necessarily expect him to be a guy that was going to like be he's got some nastiness to him, and that's something that I like as well.
Yeah, you talk about him being raw. I mean, I love that he gets out of his stance and goes after it and tries to bury the kid. I love that. That.
But I want to see him move his feet better on contact, right?
He stopped. Yeah, exactly right. And my biggest issue with his pass set from before is he let the kid get into him a little bit too much, like into
Needs
his
a
body.
lot of work on his hands.
Needs to use his hands more. But you can tell that he's strong though, because even though he let that kid into his body, he was able to kind of get him off and push him to the ground.
Same thing here, Vince. This guy wins the leverage battle against Styles. This guy gets his hands inside of Styles' hands in this battle. Styles loses his power stance almost immediately on contact.
Yes.
Loses the power position, but yet he's still able to push this guy back and bully him because he's just really naturally strong.
Right.
This is a really bad technical rep, but it's a really impressive rep. You also see the knees don't lock up, which shows me, again, he's got some flexion in those knees and ankles. That's the other part of this too, Vince, is this is one of those reps that shows me he's got some flexion in the knees and ankles, which is really important for an offensive lineman. Really important.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, I like this is one of those ones where I see this is okay. You don't see this a lot, Vince, but this is look at the quickness out of his stance.
He gets some width here too. Yeah,
like he's really quick out of his stance. Now again, the technique needs work. He's kind of hopping.
Yeah,
but
totally hopping.
Yeah, but look at the quickness. I like the quickness, and again, he's got good length. Doesn't have like crazy Ronnie Stanley length, but he's got good length.
But I also like the fact that as soon as that kid goes off of his feet, he gets into the air. He's like, no, we don't do that. Boom, and pushes him down. Not enough kids do that. Not enough kids will take advantage of the fact that a guy gets off of his feet. He's got no more. He's got no leverage anymore. Push him onto the ground.
Right. Here, Vince, you see this is not great technique. He doesn't step at all. He just kind of turns his near foot, which closes his hips off. You'll see this. So it kind of closes his hips off a little bit. So you can already see it on this particular play. Let me pause it real quick. So when he steps, his hips are now here, like they're pointed here, but he needs to go here.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a technical thing that you want to see him work on. But this is one of those ones that shows how athletic he actually is, because look how quickly he's able to turn and bend inside and get a body on this kid. Right. So it may not show like, oh, wow, super impressive block. You pushed a kid down. But it shows off the athleticism that I think sometimes his lack of technique can mask a little bit how athletic he actually is.
But on that last one, after he pushed the kid down, he continued to block another kid.
Yeah.
Like he didn't stop just because his kid's in the dirt.
Right. So here he is. This is a nice down block on a 3 technique. Angle's not great. right? You want to try to stay on that upfield shoulder.
Yeah, he's on the wrong shoulder.
But look at and this is a good sized kid. Vince, do you know who this is against?
I should know this.
Noblesville? Okay, Noblesville.
I just yeah.
This is a good sized kid.
Oh, it says
and look at him just come off and drill this kid. What's that?
No, it says it right there in the end zone.
Yeah.
I was going off the Millers there.
Yeah.
In the end.
That's the field, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But look at this. This is a good sized kid. He does a drive back. He actually keeps a pretty decent base here. But again, you see the knee bend. You see the flexibility in the ankles. But the more importantly, you see the aggressiveness. Now, look, he narrows his base. He loses sort of the power profile, but he's just so naturally strong that he's able to bury this kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of talent here that's masked to me by the technique. That's what I think Coach Eastan saw. That's what I think Coach Rudolph sees is, yeah, this kid may not be like a great high school offensive lineman yet, but there's a lot of talent there to work with. A lot of talent to work with. And that's what you want, Vince, right? You want that natural ability. Your job as a coach is to teach all that stuff. Again,
right.
You talk about the hands, Vince. Here's another example you're talking about. So you can go ahead and explain what you're talking about. Watch his hands. He just doesn't. He
doesn't use them at all. He just uses his chest, and he gets right into the kid. But he lets the kid get into him. And once he starts playing guys that are bigger and stronger, then that's going to be a problem, right? He needs to get this guy out. He needs to get his hands in here, and then he can maneuver the guy wherever he wants.
Yeah, this was a little better. You see him actually shooting his hands here on this one. He doesn't do that often in the run game. But here he does it, and look what he does to the kid. But look what he does to the kid is, you know what I mean? Like, this is one of those ones where he actually works his feet through contact better than normal. His base is still a little narrow, but he works his feet through contact, shoots his hands, and he dominates this kid. Mm-hmm. He just absolutely dominates that kid.
Yes, he did.
And so the tools are there.
Absolutely.
He's just but his grade is low right now because he's so raw. He's so raw mechanically, and he needs work. Nice base here, just pops kid down, and puts the guy on the ground. He's got a lot of tools, Vince. And so again, could he play guard? Sure, he could play guard, but he's a natural tackle. He's definitely a natural tackle,
and he's got a frame that Coach Bayless is going to really enjoy because there's a lot that you can do with that frame physically. And then you add in the better technique with the hands, and he's got a very high ceiling. I will say that he's got a high ceiling. Let's see how he can match it, and let's see. I'm very curious to see, this time next year. So, like, what is or 6 months from now? Mm-hmm. What does his senior film look like? Has he gotten some better technique? Has he gotten a little bit bigger in the weight room? A lot can happen between junior and senior year. You know what I mean? And then you can build on that even more when he gets to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. From seeing him at the spring game, he looks like he's filling out a little bit.
Okay.
But it was kind of hard to tell because he had a hoodie on.
Fair enough.
So it's a little hard to tell. But he's got you can see he's got nice broad shoulders, and he's got a good lower half. And he's a good looking kid. He's a good looking athlete. He's got pretty long legs. So he's listed at, somebody asked, he's listed as 6'6". 6'5" might be a little bit more, 6'4.5", 6'5"-ish might be a little bit closer to what he looked like on the hoof. 6'5", I'd say. I don't know if he's a full 6'6", but that's me guessing as he walked by me, on campus. So I wouldn't take that to the bank. But he's plenty tall enough.
Yeah.
This is a nice base here. That's a nice base there.
Yeah.
The rest of the technique wasn't great, but I like the base here, Vince. There's a lot to work with. There's a lot to work with here. This is a good pickup. This is a really good pickup because again, you're a guy that is you're going to need tackles to step in pretty soon, and he's not a guy that's going to come in as a freshman, but he's a guy that by year 2 with good coaching is going to have a chance to compete for a spot. He shows pretty natural instincts, Vince. Like he's doing a pass set here. This guy's originally showing a wide technique. He's originally showing like, okay, I'm wide off the edge, but then the guy starts to kind of creep in, and Styles quickly recognizes that he's going to try to shoot inside, and he doesn't overset. He starts to set, but he starts to set, he stays, and then he rocks the guy inside and stays with him. The other thing too is a lot of times you'll see young offensive linemen that'll punch a guy like this and then just like punch him and then just like and then like kind of let him go. He shocks him and then stays engaged and works the guy inside. It's a really well done job there by Styles. He's a good football player. Really good football player. See the length there? Yeah, I like this kid, Vince.
Yeah,
this
me
is
too.
one of those ones you can really see the quickness off the ball, right? Again,
Yeah, look at him
technique
get out
needs a
there.
lot of work, but
Sure.
athletically, this is a nice clip. This is one of those ones you're like, okay, you can see him bending. He's not standing up. You know, he keeps a nice bend. You see the look at this change of direction here, real quick. Again, this shows the flexibility, the ankle flexion, the knee ability to bend the knees. You see a lot of that in that clip. This again, a lot of tools to work with this young man,
Mm-hmm.
Vince. He's an upside guy, right? That's what
Oh,
you're taking Styles
absolutely.
Prescod because
But
he's an
high
upside
ceiling.
guy.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So the final thing to me, Vince, it's important for an offensive lineman is there's got to be a certain demeanor I'm looking for. And when I watch this kid play, Vince, the demeanor is there.
He's a finisher.
He's a pretty quiet, unassuming kid
Sure.
he doesn't talk a lot. He's not a real flamboyant young man, which is kind of the demeanor Notre Dame looks for in an offensive lineman. But when he gets on the field, he likes the physical part of the game now. There's no mistaking that. He likes to mix it up and he likes to beat you. Physically
Oh,
beat
yeah.
you. I mean, I don't know if he's a wrestler. I have no idea if he's got a wrestling background. I'd have to ask Ryan on that one. But you almost kind of feel like he does because of how much he likes to put people on the ground. You know, like, hey, those wrestling guys, because how do you win in wrestling, right? You got to put a guy on the ground, though, right? Don't you get points by guys getting on the ground, takedowns and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another player who really shows his foot quickness. So a lot to
Well,
like
and
here,
his
Vince.
vision. I mean, he picks some things up. He's picked up some blitzers. He's picked up some outside pressures, and he recognizes and it goes to it. Again, technique's not the best, but he recognizes those.
But his
things
technique's
and
not
makes a
awful.
play.
That's the other thing. It's it's not terrible. Right. I don't want to disrespect his. He's a junior in high school that just needs a lot of technical work.
And somebody in the chat said something about, well, he must have a lousy, offensive line coach. I wouldn't say that because
there's a difference between what's good in high school and what's good for University of Notre Dame.
Exactly. And when you have a kid like this who's pretty darn good already, you got 4 other guys plus a depth chart that you got to coach up to. And a lot of times you don't have an assistant offensive line coach and all of that kind of thing. So you got to put your time into the other 4 guys and you kind of let your star be a star.
Right. And his technique's not like trash, like he's not getting coached at all. He's a junior in high school that just needs a lot of work to be able to play the game at a high level. But the thing is, he's assignment correct a lot, Vince.
Yes,
and that's a sign of a good high school coach.
That's
to me.
Bingo. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So no, don't take this as like, oh, his high school coach sucks. That's just true of a lot of guys that aren't just monsters, or at big time, programs with just this long history of producing, like St. Ignatius or something like that, right? Like it's a different animal. This guy that coaches the O-lines probably works some other job somewhere, and or he's a teacher at the school or something like that, right? I mean, that's the reality of it.
He's making about $3,000 to coach high school football. I mean, that's just just what it is, man.
That's right. Yeah, Vince, you know about that.
All too well.
Yeah. And well, I don't know. Is it like this, Vince, in Indiana? Do a lot of guys coach 2 ways, or do you have like full staffs, like offense and defensive staffs?
Normally, it depends on how they want to break it up and how they want to disseminate the funds.
Yeah, at a school like this, do you think it probably has just an O-line coach?
Yes. Yeah, Hamilton Southeastern is a pretty good sized school, so I'm sure that they have both sides of the ball.
Yeah. So, Vince, overall, let's talk about this. What is your overall feel for Styles Prescod as a player?
I think the biggest thing I can say is it's high ceiling. I think this kid has a high ceiling. I think he's got, like you said, the right demeanor, and that's big in an offensive lineman. I think he's smart. I think he's got good vision, which is exciting. Needs some work. He's not a guy that's going to come in on day one and be pushing for a starting spot. But guess what? My thought process on an offensive lineman is that's a few and far between. Like that's the unicorn. Normally you come in and you get bigger and stronger. Your technique gets bigger over 1 or 2 years. Now you're competing as like a true junior, which would be like a redshirt sophomore. Like that's when I anticipate most offensive linemen are going to be competing for a position. Right. This kid fits that mold, right? He's got the size. He's got the frame. Can't teach frame, right? He's got the frame that you can work with that Coach Bayless is going to be excited about.
It'd be
And
pretty awesome. You can like stretch kids out.
yeah,
Like
I
that'd
know,
be
right?
pretty cool, right? Like I'm gonna turn this 6'1" kid 6'5" monster with 35-inch arms, baby. I wish there was that, but that
Yeah,
doesn't
me
exist.
too, because I would have been on that raft trying to stretch myself out
Would
a
have
little
been
bit. But
6'4".
yeah,
No doubt.
right. Yeah,
No doubt.
exactly. But no, I
No
like
doubt.
the upside of this kid a lot. And I also like the fact that he's kind of been a Notre Dame guy all along. And that kind of excites me as well. He sees what's special about Notre Dame. He wanted to be a part of it. And this is a fun high ceiling kid that's going to be fun to watch.
But he was also smart enough to see the process through.
Exactly.
That's the
a
thing
really
I like
good
too,
point.
Vince.
Yeah.
Is he loved Notre Dame early on. You just kind of thought, I remember when they first offered him, I believe you and I talked about like, yeah, they're going to get this kid. But he didn't just jump into the class
Yeah.
right away.
Right.
He saw the process through. That shows me some thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's just one of those little things you look for. Because look, I'm gonna be honest with you, folks. If Styles wanted to commit back in March, they'd have taken his commitment back in March.
Sure.
I mean, just they'd have taken his commitment in April. He didn't wait till June to commit because Notre Dame wasn't willing to take him. I mean, they'd have taken him. I don't know if they'd have taken him right away when they first offered him because they were still in the getting to know you process a little bit with him. But once they kind of got through all that stuff, he became a guy they wanted very early, very early. And so a guy that they would have taken, Vince, but he was patient. He saw the process through. Now he's still committing early. He's committing in June.
Sure, but
it was
coaches
a good,
allowed him to though too, which you mentioned earlier, which I really like. They didn't push to be like, hey, you don't commit now, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Hey, explore your options, and that's what I would want to see from a coach. To be honest with you, is if my kid's getting recruited and he gets offered or whatever, they're going to be like, hey, see what else is out there. Make sure this is the right fit for you because we think it's the right fit, and we're going to tell you why it's the right fit. But you've got to make sure it's the right fit. Otherwise, you end up with a kid who commits early and then they're like, well, I should have done my due diligence. I really wanted to go look at this school, or I really wanted to go look at this school. And then you just run into too many issues. So it's good to cover all of your bases before the commitment happens so that once you are committed, it's over. You're shutting it down. Done. It's done. I like that from both sides of it, from both sides.